Yes. Where was it? Over at
Newark.
up in
Newark.
Newark. Yes, he was up there doing a show.
Cherry Valley. Yeah.
So it's where we kind of were with that. So the intent was just to kind of go through here and kind of give you a little bit of a, like I said, a little bit of a visual presentation. So this is going to be, I believe it's 3 separate lagoons that are in this PowerPoint, just to at least give you an idea. And maybe it'll kind of give you a visual on the trailers. These are, we call them bio labs basically. And there again, what we're doing is growing live bacteria in those tanks. So each trailer is about 18 foot long and looks like roughly about right at the size of your driveways.
Okay.
That I took a peek at this evening. So it's best if we try to keep the trailers as close to the influent. So whether it's coming in specifically, so there again, that's going to help push that bacteria out into the lagoon. The one thing I noticed that you don't have, which I was informed today, is you don't have any aeration at all in that. So has there been any kind of recommendations by anybody like the EPA or anybody like that?
We get a lot of wind back here, so it turns them down.
It looks, that's what I figured. It's
So
pretty
flat.
flat, open, and
Yeah.
it looks like it would be blowing across there. And that's probably one of the major reasons your numbers are probably standing where they are today. I bet that's helping the situation or cause. So, on the first one I got, which was the second slide you've got there, this patented program. We developed this about 4 or 5 years ago, roughly. The whole process of not only obviously how to grow this bacteria, but there again, how to feed it, because there's different bacteria you want. There's kind of a good bacteria, bad bacteria, right? So we're trying to keep your lagoon, and obviously you must have fair amount of good bacteria in that lagoon, or you'd be into worse shape, definitely today than where you are, so much as even accumulation. I don't know if you had a chance to see what the sludge judge numbers when they were out there and they sludged it. So overall, obviously we know it's going to be toward the first cell,
Right.
and that's typical, right? And then depending on what's flowing on through. So typically that third cell is a kind of a polishing cell, or however you want to refer to it, to the point, but by the time it goes out. Surmising, does it go there? I'm guessing there's a little tributary to the backside.
There's a creek.
Okay, because it was kind of getting dark and I couldn't see real well.
Yeah.
So okay, so you're discharging back that direction. So in this, you could kind of start to see on this particular side, you could see the trailers that are back in the back there. Like I say, 18 foot, roughly about 10 foot wide is what these trailers are. They are cooled that we have, that's what you're seeing on the top of those trailers, because we had to have those in a lot of the southern states, specifically Texas and Louisiana, because it was getting past 110 or so in those trailers. So you see the hoses that are coming out of those trailers. This whole system is gravity fed. So there's no pumps. There's pumps in there that feed the bugs and grow the bugs. But everything else that flows out once we release it, then it's basically gravity fed and flows into that. So I see the height of what your lagoons currently are. So you don't have any issues that way. Sometimes we've had to bring in pumps because we had to go over up and top like racetracks with a little bit higher if it's a cement basin or so forth, and had to do that. Sometimes we've had to go through lift stations.
Right.
So we do, have done that in the past on some of these. But there again, the most direct, fastest, quickest way is to have a trailer sitting on that lagoon. So right now, I think the recommendation I looked at, it's just a trailer per lagoon, which for that size of lagoon and the amount of sludge you got in there, that should be more than adequate to get that thing going, is what I would say. You're talking about if you got decent air movement, so you should be fine. It's what I would venture to say. So let's see the next slide there. Is that the one that's
The electrical pump.
this is just sludge removal services.
What was the last one?
Is that the
Yeah,
way
with
you
the
want?
trailer,
So you
yeah,
want to
something
jump?
with the-
Okay,
yeah.
we could skip on that way. But the main thing I wanted you to see, there is an electric, you see the pedestal there? There's on beside one of those trailers, the picture to the right inside. If that's where you are.
Yes, okay, right here.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. There again, we need 150 amp is what we need, and at the end of this, it'll have all the specifications of what we have to have. We have to have potable water, it has to go in there.
I got that back here.
Okay, those tanks right now they contain they're 1,000-gallon tanks and those things are dumping, every 12 hours. It's dumping live microbes into there. So that being the case, it's about 600 gallons roughly, give or take. We've got to keep about 100 gallons or so. We have to withhold because then we have to regrow new bugs. So basically, once it hits that level, everything's automated, and believe it or not, everything is controlled out of Longview, Texas. So it's all monitored. We hit the button, we set the parameters, what it needs to be. Then every day, the IT people are looking through all these trailers to see, what the dump, how many gallons. So we'll be able to tell you exactly through the job how many gallons we've actually dumped into that. The whole premise of this thing is, and like we were talking about with the mayor earlier, and that was, it's not really a new program or really not a new process per se. It's the same thing we talk about, that how your digestion works, basically. You've already got some of it going in there. The best way to equate this, layman term wise, it's, we're basically overpopulating that water column with microbes. I mean, there's billions in there now that we're going to add, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times that amount. So that's then they're looking for food, and as long as there's those nutrients, which I guarantee are in, because I looked at your lab analysis, they'll latch on and they'll start to eat away. I don't think, did this have very much hard pan in this? Do you
There was a
recall?
little bit in the first one.
Okay, which is typical. So what it'll do is it'll even start to eat or gnaw through that hard pan, and you'll actually, the whole process, you'll start to see that break loose, and it'll start to float to the top, which is a good sign. And you'll be able to see it. It'll be kind of look like it's kind of boiling or bubbling, and that's literally the microbes eating is what that amounts to. So it doesn't, any of these microbes kind of get the question, well, what happens once they leave your lagoon or go down the creek, basically.
Yeah.
So the other thing I can tell you there, you'll have the cleanest creek in the county.
And
So-
it's nothing to be afraid of. These are microbes that are already there. Right?
Yes.
We're not introducing some new
Something
kind that's
new,
out there,
no
and they're all
chemicals.
non-pathogenic.
Yes.
So
Exactly. So they'll do a great job. In fact, we were just cleaned up a creek in Oklahoma that had a ton of sludge where they were dumping, and the EPA kind of came in there and was not too happy with the community. So we went in there and basically started dumping microbes to eat that creek out. So did a really good job there. We mentioned earlier, if, depending upon lift station, if you feel there's some lift stations in or around about town, and that's something else that we could, if you're interested or entertaining, that there again, we could set up single unit trailer, one tank trailers and dump, and basically they'll eat from that lift station to that lagoon is what it'll amount to. If you've got any
we've got
issues.
one back along the railroad going back.
Yes, and I did see that. That's the one with the generator.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we got another one on the far east side of town.
Okay.
With a generator. With a generator. Yeah, they both have generators on.
Okay. Well, that's great. That is great. So, and as far as I know, there wasn't anything from an industrial waste. I mean, I didn't see anything. Nobody told me anything about anything industrial. We run into that periodically sometimes, especially with food processing, when they clean out or bleach out, like a Tyson chicken or something like that, that it will kill that bacteria. So then we have to go back and reestablish that. So it's right. So